What up, world? It's your boy Mo Better from Mo Better Publishing and Productions LLC, the media group I deserve a deal in connection with Collective Minds LLC. Please forgive me, I've been having technical difficulties. Uh, Collective Minds LLC is the revitalization of Black Wall Street. This organization that is based on cultural awareness, education, economic development, and empowerment of us as a people. Thank you for joining on. And what we do we this is the revitalization of Black Wall Street. This organization is based on cultural awareness, education, economic development, and empowerment of us as a people. And it's in every aspect: business, relationships, spirituality. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing is based on education and us coming back together as the people that we need to be, the people that we began to be, the people that everybody else has taken our culture and bits and pieces of who we are and took it to themselves and manipulated it, and now they try to sell it back to us. We're the only ones who don't study who we are as a people. I'm looking for my glasses. Please forgive me. I'll put these on. Today is Relationship Wednesdays, and Collective Minds LLC, our thing is to bring order back to where we are. Like Malcolm X said, he said, we're not outnumbered to degrees where they can come through and just destroy us. He said, what we are is actually like divided and we're unorganized. So in Collective Minds LLC, to bring back order, we have days that we do particular things on. And what happens when you get into a day? You have motivational Mondays where you talk about what motivates and inspires you. Then we have psychological Tuesdays when we talk about how we make it through depression and trials and tribulations and things of that nature. Then we have Relationship Wednesdays today when you talk about what can help motivate and inspire you to make a relation. What kills relationships? What makes relationships grow? Can relationships be brought back after infidelity? What is the real purposes of marriages and different things of that nature? We talk about these things. And then we have a Financial Fridays. We have people talk on each one of these days to come in and assist us. And on this day right here, today we're talking about one on the relationships. Look, we're talking about this is actually going to be a piece from the magazine. These sessions in Real Life with Mo Better has actually inspired a digital magazine. It's been out, but again, we're having technical difficulties, so it may be out today or later on, sometimes later on today. But this is one of the articles from the magazine that I want to talk about, and it's about why our relationships today don't last as long as our parents did. Now, when we talk about it, you say, why don't our relationships in today's time last as long as our grandparents did when they were in the trenches? Now, I want to talk about the trenches. People, when you're going through trials and tribulations and different things of that nature, sometimes what you can do is the person that you make it through these trials and tribulations with that love can be stronger than blood love. Blood relatives, it can be so deep and intense because you help each other through it, and you know you was the truest at the time when you, like they say, a drunk tells the truth. When you were at your trenches and your lowest of the low, things begin to come out that you never would expose and express before. You know what I mean? So that's what this organization is based on. And you have the t-shirts. You'll see the t-shirts and the hoodies. This is a hoodie right here. And it says cultural awareness, education, economic development, and empowerment of us as a people. It's the same thing on the t-shirts. And what we're talking about in this love today, in this relationship demonstration, is about what's going on, what we do as a people. And these love in these trenches, and I want to talk to you, and we're going all the way from the processes of slavery. And I want you to understand this. When we talk about the origin of the love, the origin of humanity, the origin of hospitality and being together as a people and communicating with one another. Now, the origin of who we are. Y'all understand, y'all know that we the first people on the planet? Human. God created human. Let us make man, human in our image. Hue means of color. Man is us, mankind. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up with you, Miss Butler? Hey, Queen, how you doing? So this is what we go into this right here. The origin of this. See, this is a big topic all across the globe, but even more so in the Black community. Let's first separate today's times from our grandparents' times. Now, when we're talking about times, we're talking about why do our relationships not last long today? in our times as they did back then in those times. So let's equate today's times with those born between the 80s and the 90s and our grandparents' times of those who were married in the 50s and 60s and before, or the 60s, 50s and before the 60s, right? So let's first understand that before we were stolen from our country and came to America as slaves, we had the greatest education and economic infrastructures. Phrases like "it takes a village to raise the children" originated from and in the villages of our motherland, Africa. This means that we originate from and as a loving people before the thieves, disruptors, and colonizers introduced their deception into our hearts and minds. You understand this? So the division that we have with each other is not really like us. This is me and brother Dominic Green. We did a piece about this called the Helican Dialectic, to where you can have a thought process and live by it and stand on it, but it was actually implanted in you symbolically to where you believe it's yours, but it's not. See, when we were brought here by force, enslaved and brutalized to help us cope with and endure the brutality we were being taken through, we, as we do, told stories as of where we came from, how this would never taken place at home, and how we will be back soon after our escape from slavery together. So even through the brutality of slavery, those older than us and even some our age were just brought to where we were, talked about the love we shared as a people in our motherland. We talked about the families we adored and cherished. See it in your mind. A fellow slave beaten or whipped, in to ease his or her pain, we spoke to that brother or sister, not even biologically ours, about how we would never do one another like this, where we are from, as we verbally soothed and poured water in wounds just to give to them some source of semblance. See, and this was given to the slave master sometimes just because he can do it. But this is how we soothe each other. This is where a lot of the ailments and things that we come from now, like the betadine, the iodine, and the aloe vera and different things of that nature, came from because we was trying to help each other through the brutality and through the trenches. We was like, man, how can we? The humanity in us. Now see, human means color. Humanity, civilization. You know what I'm saying? What is real? Sympathy, empathy, these things. We had it. I have come to understand that people who may not even know one another, who have experienced or are going through the same disasters or trauma, and assist one another through that stress, or what some call the trenches, can become closer in ties than blood relatives. Imagine everyone around you being different and speaking another language from yours, but everyone that looks like you is being treated inhumanely, wearing chains, shackles, handcuffs, and being beaten in front of you and or just like you. Even in the midst of distress, the minds tell you to gravitate to who looks like you to find why this is happening to you and them. And does this sound like the hood? It sounds like the ghettos, to where, guess what? Everything around us is like hard for us to get to. We're not looked at out there. So in a sense, psychologically, we've been chained to a place. And until we break the psychological, mental, and emotional chains of what we've been implanted in, we're being brutalized and we gravitate to one another. But now the way that we gravitate to one another is in a disruptive manner. As slaves, we're in the trenches of the trenches. Beaten, whipped, hung, burned alive, mutilated, both men and women, raped, and children snatched from our arms to be used as bait to catch wild animals. These are just some of the things that happened to us, to name a few. The chains that they put on our necks. They took our kids to catch wild animals like lions, tigers, bears, and even pigs and things of that nature. They would take our born children, live children, infants, and throw them out there as bait so the animals could come to attack the animals so they can kill the animals. This is how they got the lions, tigers, bears, and different things of that nature. Bait. Think about that. These are just some of the things that they did to us. This created the trenches with us, like, oh my God, look what so we catered to one another to the best that we could. But see, as a loving people from our origin, we got even closer together to help one another make it through what other cultures call and get mad at the descendants of Africa through the process of slavery, when we call it the same thing as they do, a Holocaust. This Holocaust and or process of brutality lasted close to like 373 years or more. See what I'm saying? So then you got the mental and emotional warfare, the propaganda process as well. So even through slavery, you had passages and paperwork out that said nigga slave, nigga boy, nigga girl, these type of different demonstrations that was going up, and they were selling us. You see what I'm saying? And good this, good that, and how bad we were. They showed pictures of us with big lips and crazy faces and doing all kinds of different demonstrations of that nature, right? So this is the propaganda they put out opposers. It made the society around us look at us like we were bad. That sound familiar today, like through TV and television. So see, this has been going on for a long period of time. And I told you all, please go get the book, because this has been ingrained into us as well. We accept and live by what they teach the masses. See, bad times don't last forever. It's the same, but doesn't 373 years of atrocities spoken about seem like forever? I spoke on and give you the links to the aforementioned because I want the readers to pay attention to and see what not our long ago forefathers went through. But as not long ago, but as reasons and some of our grand and great parents that some of us have met and still see today can tell us about. They will also tell us how through the method of madness the slave master put us through, we still loved and cared for and catered to one another. We still got married, had children, and raised loving families to the best of our abilities, to the best abilities that we could. Even in the trenches, guess what happened? We grew stronger. The love that we had for one another grew even deeper and back to the protection that we would have back at home despite the guns, dogs, whips, and fears of being mutilated and burned alive that we were set against. We grew even stronger. Some of us men remained and grew into the Uncle Tom that we hear about who turns against his own, when in reality, he was a man that challenged everyone, black and white, and who faced and looked on death. He took on death. Instead of telling the whereabouts of a few runaway slave girls who were being raped by a slave master, he didn't tell them, so that's how he died. That deeper love helped to build people like Harriet Tubman, who risked her life to free her brothers and sisters. That love in the trenches helped build people like Nat Turner, who didn't just put his own life on the line, but took as many as he could before they took his. I want you to think about that. When they saw that we are a resilient people and cannot be easily broken physically, they changed the game. Willie Lynch and his tactics of making a slave through the process of mental and emotional warfare that as he stated, will have the black man and woman mentally enslaved for up to an estimated 500 years after the release of even physical slavery was abolished. Now, I want you to think about that. Now, he said this will work after that. That means that they already knew that this was going to be abolished. So a lot of the things that took place, including the civil wars and different things of that nature, were all part of the chess game. See what I'm saying? And that Willie Lynch, it worked and still does down to this day. In my opinion, a small-minded or brainwashed still fall victim to the mental and emotional drama created through this process and the system to where we even fight amongst one another to say that Willie Lynch never existed, as opposed to paying attention to the action we are living by as we argue with one another about the very letter that trained us to do what we're doing. So we'll sit here and we'll argue with one another about how Willie Lynch is not real and he wasn't a real person and this happened and that happened, but we arguing with each other. And this is what part of the Willie Lynch process was to do, to teach us to fight each other and to become envious of one another. See, even back then, they were familiar with the science of epigenetics. It just wasn't called that. Epigenetics is the study or science of passing down psychological traits. See, we don't just pass down physical characteristics. He has his mother's ears and nose and his father's eyes and lips, as an example. We also pass down mental and emotional attributes. An example of that is, you may know a child that does not know his or her biological mother or father, but you do. And over a period of time of being with or around, the child will say, man, he acts just like his mother or father, i.e. the one the child has never met. Epigenetics is actually natural, but can be directed and trained as they did with us. Do you also want to argue with your own about how the Willie Lynch letter and syndrome is not real, although you see it and possibly even live it today as recorded? See, let me explain something to you. Many of us don't like a light-skinned person or a dark-skinned person or people that look certain ways and do certain things. They have never done anything to us, but we don't like them. Why is that? That's epigenetics. It's been passed down to us through the Willie Lynch process. You see what I'm saying? So we actually live according to how they have implanted it in us and what it is for us to do. See what I'm saying? So in order to remain in control, they created white supremacy through fear, and with that same fear coupled with brutality created division, hate, and mistrust within us as a people. See, we still grew strong as being closer to hearing stories of the motherland and seeing people in our time of that time stepping up against the powers that be as living examples of the passion and power of what it means to be and live as a person of color and as a united people. See Frederick Douglass, Jordan Truth, Black Wall Street of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Malcolm Shabazz, I know that's Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Huey P. Newton of the Black Panther Party, Marcus Garvey, Medgar Evers, and Stokely Carmichael, to name a few. We as a people spoke about what we were able to see. So this has been taken from us. See, knowing the cause, we have to know the cause, what the situation is. When you know this, we can't keep doing the same thing. Because we were so close to being kidnapped from our motherland, we still heard the stories of our origins. And we're seeing our kind act upon what they knew about concerning our origins. They were also showing us that the cause of who we were as a people is bigger than individuality and the separation we taught by learning their rights and even putting their lives on the line. Although the physical brutality was also visual and instilled fear, it also created uprisings, so they began to create a different form of mental and emotional warfare. Radio and television programming was created to divert the world's attention from the political powers taking over to control and manipulate minds of the masses, as stated by Malcolm X. I tell you, as long as you continue to pay attention to the media itself, those who create the media, you will begin to hate the one being oppressed next to you and begin to enjoy being with the oppressor. You'll join the oppressor. This mental and emotional tactic has been going on with the African Americans since we were forced to step foot in the soil. We have also been deemed to be less than human, dirty, lazy, and needing to be brutalized in order to be kept in control, and the contradiction of being forced to perform slave labor. This form of propaganda, listen, propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. This is always going on and took a new form of mental and emotional warfare. Not just with the Negro, but the world, as some of us were able to travel the world and be called, guess what, a nigger, and disrespected by many who have never seen us before. Anything one sees, especially on a continuous basis, causes one to respond in either a positive and or negative manner. In this mental and emotional warfare, can you see how anything positive concerning black people has been taken off the radio and television and misplaced with everything that is negative and degrading to us as a culture on a continuous basis? Now, how do we live? This is part of the radio and television programming. Not programming as in just a segment that comes on, but by definition, the process of instructing or learning by means of an instructional program with subliminal tactics in this mental and emotional warfare that help to create and maintain white supremacy in the black inferior complex that both of our cultures have been groomed to accept and live by. You see this? In these tactics, this brainwashing has caused us to strive to be everything radio and television programming tells us to be in the process of instructing or learning by means of an instructional program. And the men degrading our women and our women degrading our men, and giving that same direction to our children who are our future as we help to perpetuate the propaganda they have imposed to the world concerning the negative aspects of who the black man and woman are as an entire people. I want you to think about that. They present the world that we are just this negative, horrible people. And this is what we do when we perpetuate this. We live by this because we see this on TV. They've succeeded. They're successful. They're making money. They're famous because they're on television. They're seen by the world. We feel that this is how we should act. When we don't understand that that is actually a program. Part of the systematic mental manipulation for us to act like this. So then when we actually go out here and perform these things in our homes, on our streets, in our houses that were homes, on our blocks that were streets, and in our hoods that were communities. When we do these things, they perpetuate to the world. See, we told y'all. This is what allows them to come and do the things they do and allow us to be called. I don't care where you go in the world, you can be called a nigger. Because we continuously act upon what it is they do. We as the minor people, we as what is it called? Well, we as the less have to grow back into what was the majority. That's what we have to do. Because we are no longer seen in a positive light and displayed as a negative by design of the system that makes the radio and television programming, we have allowed the abnormal to become the normal. Because we no longer see our own people succeeding by design of the system, dating before, but really doing the programming of the Willie Lynch speech and made more powerful with the radio and television programming, we no longer hear the stories of our motherland. We no longer console one another to help the bruises given to us by the slave master, just because they could do it. We rarely hear about another Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, Nat Turner, or Martin Luther King Jr. with the passion of being selfless in not a movement, but a way of life to uplift and bring the passion back in what it means to be black. How do we deal with this? What do? Do we go on another movement? We can run in place and never get anywhere. So that's not what this is about. You see what I'm saying? This is about actually acting. This is actually about living a way by example. That's what this is. See, how do you treat this and how do we deal with this? See, treatment and the cure to our culture. We no longer have a connection between the youth and the elders of our people that tell us stories about how we used to be as a people, nor what we need to do to be strong black men and women. We no longer as a people help to heal the brutality and death that the system was imposed upon us beyond the moment it happens. We are no longer the village it takes to raise the children. We have lost the definition of what it means to be black and the passion of who we are as a people. They say that the more one knows, the more one is responsible for. This should compel those of us who claim to be conscious and that Black Lives Matter to be initiators in the revising and the actions that we now cause the problem that we have been groomed to accept and live by together. We need to reverse the fake news of being lazy people that disrespect one another. We are the ones who need to live by example and rebrand the relationships our elders had with our youth so they can hear the stories of our origins. How we had loving, lasting relationships. They need to hear this. How our children behaved and respected not just their parents, but all elders. Let us talk about how we had communities that we have turned into hoods, streets that we have turned into blocks, and homes we have turned into mere living quarters by being programmed. Those of us who claim to be conscious and scream Black Lives Matter need to manifest what we say in the actions of living by example of creating our own programs. Definition of programs like they have. All right? You listen? A public notice. The performance of a program, especially a performance broadcast on radio and television. A plan or system under which actions may be taken toward a goal. Curriculum. Prospectus. Syllabus. Ready? See, our program and plan goals and systems should be to bring back the village it takes to raise our children, establishing cultural awareness, education, economic development, and empowerment of us as a people. In this system, we regain the value of our individual selves and begin to make better decisions in life as individuals and as a collective. In this collective and with these better decisions, with clear eyes, we grow and develop together. We reverse the vision we have been groomed to accept and live by and bring back the love we have for one another. Teach and help one another. Console one another through our trials and tribulations as again our not so long ago ancestors did. I am by no means saying that we as a people should attempt to overthrow the government with the revolt as Nat Turner did. The revolution should not be televised because it's the mental state that we today should regain from our grandparents, great-grandparents, and those before them had. So we can do what they did As we look at the news, we should see that we are still in the trenches as a people and need to assist one another like they did to reestablish that deep love and passion we have for one another. And as a people to unite and become this new form of slavery. We need to live by example. Look, y'all take care. I love y'all. It's your boy, Mo Better in real life. You got me. See if some of y'all can hear this. Let me see if you can. Let me see if this will play. Remember this?
Kings and queens, the more they become kings and queens. The more they are standing next to kings and queens, the more they become kings and queens. Nikki ain't standing next to no queens. That's why that she got the image she got. Now the minute Nikki stand next to a real queen, Nikki gonna be like, hold up, good. I wanna be like that. Good. But now here's my argument. Where the black queen at?
Right here.
Come on! Where's the black queen at? Where's that image on television and radio? We would point to Oprah Winfrey. Just say from Chicago, I'm in Chi-Town. Let me look at Oprah. The black queen. Cabrini Green is a war zone. She builds a school in Africa. From Chicago. That's official. Is she any better than Nikki? No, sir. No, sir! This is what I'm saying. Nikki got a better chance of finding consciousness than Oprah Winfrey does. We need to inspire our young people. I told Wayne, we was at the BET Awards when I was getting my Lifetime Achievement Award. I saw Wayne right there. He was in tears. Wayne, no. He was right there. I said, Wayne, look, I'm doing the Stop the Violence movie. I'm doing a Stop the Violence 09. Wayne's there, Rick Ross is there, all the dudes, people are criticizing. I said, yo, I'm doing this thing right over here. They were the first people, when a real black man step up and say, yo, here's what we doing over here for the kids. First one there, Rick Ross. Yo, here's what we got to do for the babies. Next one, here comes Wayne. Well, you can see it online. I think somebody put it online. Here comes Wayne. He's talking about how he got shot, and it was the worst thing in the world. Man, he shot himself when he was a teenager. So it's like, he was like, yo, this was crazy for me. We got to put down the guns. We got to do this. We got to do that. But here's the point, and I'm not being racist. If a white man is telling you, only telling you, look at your people. Look at your people. They ignorant. They stupid. All they want to do is drink and smoke and talk shit. Look at your people. Look at your... This is the white man telling you this. And he's showing you this. He's saying, take a look at this artist. He sold 1 million. Now look at KRS. Now where do you want to be? Oh, I want to sell 1 million. So right away, look at KRS standing on principles. So you give up the principles to go get your money. Why? Because you poor. So the principled man can't argue with the poor man and say, because you poor, you're going to run and sell your soul. You got babies to feed or whatever. I can't knock nobody's hustle. But as a principled man, I can remain free and show you what freedom looks like. I'm Harriet Tubman. I freed myself, and I'm coming back to free my brothers and sisters. That ain't for everybody. You got to be ordained to do that. I wouldn't put that mission on nobody. Okay, I'm the one that says FMTV. They see it every day. Viacom hates me. and I like it. I do not want the enemy liking me. What that mean? What that mean? I'm MTV's poster boy and y'all destroying the culture? I'm glad they don't play my music.
Did y'all hear that? Nah, that was KRS-One. You know what I mean? So that's the situation we need to be. We need to get back to principle. And the situation is a lot of us, man, they died for what we believed in. I can't nobody make me believe he's not still a millionaire. KRS One, but he does it, and it's based on principle. It's not based on what a system is telling us he should have. And that's what we have to get through. And the crazy part about it is we can be rich, we can be wealthy, we can have everything they have when we begin to generate our money among ourselves. Like we did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like we did in Rosewood, like we did in Central Park, like we did, like not long ago, our ancestors did. I'm talking about the Indians. You know what I'm saying? They part of us as well. Trails of Tears, look it up. Look these places up that I just named and see what it is that we can do as a people. They created and got their educational and economic infrastructure from us, began to flip it and trip it and turn it into what it is today, which is all lies. Christopher Columbus did not destroy America. Just like you, as a black man and woman, are not lazy, not stupid, not dumb. You're not less than a human being. You're actually the origin of everything that created everything. Look, I'm getting ready to get out of here. I love y'all. It's your boy, Mo Better. Take care. Agape in real life.